So I'm gonna run through my top five real quick. I'll start from my top down to my bottom because everybody knows what my number one is, and of course that's Elden Ring. We already talked about Elden Ring. All right, number number two. Was there anything you wanted to ask me about Elden Ring? We probably already gone through
Y-
it.
y- Yeah, I think we share pretty similar views on it. So,
Okay. Number two is Frogun. If Frogun is really that high, yep.
hey, it's a good game.
Oh yes.
It's a fantastic game.
Regardless of his many problems, I love the game, and it was one of the many incredible experiences this year. It was really, yes, nothing else was really topping it. Um, did you have anything for me from that, like from my experience with the Frogun?
Well, I mean, I was going to ask you what your opinion was on the snow levels because the platforming, but you answered that when I mentioned about how it's, one of the more difficult
Mm-hmm.
um, sections. But you mentioned something to me a while back when I first played the game, having the same theme but always being different, and I thought that was an interesting point. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I guess obviously you can
Yeah,
elaborate a little bit more on it for viewers who maybe haven't seen it that much, but
yeah.
I always thought that was an interesting point
Well,
of view that you would have on it.
I think you're halfway through the game, I believe, and that Black Lagoon level I was talking to you about, where things really get crazy. Yeah, I think it's right after the snow realm or whatever.
Okay, I'm excited. I must
Yeah,
install it again. It's been a while.
yeah, definitely jump back on that because yeah, Frogun's got a lot to offer in terms of platforming
Oh, really
and
does.
collectibles, and
Yes, and
it's
collectibles and hats.
incredible the organic difficulty in Frogun. There's no difficulty sliders, there's no difficulty slices. It's not like, oh, easy, normal, hard. No, no, no. You can rush through this game in probably a few hours if you're just not worried about doing anything else. But if you want to do everything, that's a totally different experience.
No, that is true. Yeah, it is one of them games that can easily take up your time if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm. All right, so number three, this is where we're going to get into different territory. So Nobody Saves the World. This is a game I put off. It was released, I think, in January, I believe, and it's developed by Juicebox, the same people that made Guacamelee, which is one of the games that has probably one of those games that has a really good hardest difficulty setting because it actually changes the game. And so I really wanted to play this game, but it was an awkward time because Elden Ring was just around the corner, so I didn't buy it. And it was on sale, and I bought it, and I completed it in like 37 hours. And that easily could have been a lot longer because there were still side missions to take care of. Do you know anything about the game?
No, but I saw the other one that you mentioned, the what was it,
Guacamole?
guacamole? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I always get confused on the pronounce it. I've seen that pop up a few times, and that always looked interesting.
Hmm.
But I didn't realize there was another one, like another, style.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a second Guacamole also. I haven't finished that actually. I need to go back and complete it.
okay.
But
Yeah,
if you want to see
I've
a
seen it
really
pop up.
good hardest difficulty, play Guacamole. After you play Guacamole on normal, play it on hard mode just to see how wild it is. And this is how hardest difficulty should be handled instead of just enemy, hell sponges. They actually add enemies. They throw a variety of different enemies where they weren't before. I mean, it's outstanding. I think I got close to finishing it, but it got to a part where I got really frustrated and I just never went back.
Oh, we've all been there.
Oh
We've
yeah.
all done that in some game. Oh my
Hmm.
God.
But Nobody Saves the World is a lot like Gauntlet. It reminds me of Gauntlet, and it is an incredibly charming game. You start out as a husk basically, and you get to choose different forms. I won't spoil the other forms. They kind of spoil it on the cover, so whatever you see on there is basically what's in the game. But you start out as
Okay.
a rat, and you get to travel in the walls to move forward. And you're thinking, okay, well maybe I just need to. I guess the rat is just to maneuver through small spaces, and then you got to fight as the rat. I'm like, what? I actually got to fight as the rat, and it's not as pathetic as you think it would be. Actually, the rat is one of the best forms to use in combat. And actually, the smaller enemies are actually really good. Other smaller enemy forms. And
Okay.
from that beginning, I got hooked on it immediately, and especially once I started understanding how the game worked on a more deeper level. I couldn't put the game down. I'm like, man, how did I find another game that I'm just sitting here playing for hours without getting bored? I was like staying up till like almost midnight where I had to work the next day, and I was just still hooked to this game. And I'm like, man, how is this game? I usually don't like this type of game. Why is this working so well for me? And I think it's because it had a lot of aspects that I enjoy in gaming, like form changing, using different kind of builds to handle encounters, and rewarding situations that actually you can use the rewards to benefit your build, and you can your gameplay, your forms adjust according to your gameplay, and it's just nobody's going to play the game the same way as you are. Someone might end the game with this form, someone might end the game with another form. I just love games that do that, and Nobody Saves the World is just another one of those games where you can talk to someone and they might have handled the game in a different way with a different type of form, and I just love games that build conversations like that.
Okay, that sounds like pretty fun.
Yeah, definitely another one you should try. I think it's on sale. It was on sale on PlayStation for like $29 with the DLC. It's actually cheaper to buy it with the DLC than the game.
Yeah, I notice that all the time. It seems to be going more like that now on game sales. Better in the long term to buy all the content because it works out cheaper still, like on the sale prices somehow.
But did you have any questions for me on that?
No, because I've never really played it. It's one of them I would really know.
I think you cut out a little bit. You said it was
Oh,
one of those games you didn't really what?
because I've never played it before.
Oh, okay,
It's one of them I can't really gauge just yet.
gotcha. Okay,
But it's definitely one I should try because it seems pretty fun.
it's on Game Pass.
Okay, I have an Xbox, so that works.
Number four is kind of weird because I haven't finished playing it yet. I've only played about 2 hours of it, and it replaced Lego Brick Tales, and
Can't beat a Lego game.
so okay, it's High on Life.
High on Life.
This
Okay.
this game is immediately very charming, and now one thing I do not like about it is very excessive in its cussing. I don't like hearing the F word and GDs being slinged around like it's like a regular word every 2 or 3 seconds. That gets very tiring,
Yes.
and
Okay.
I don't know what your opinions are on that, but I like the movie Sausage Party, but I believe they just cuss way too much, and I can't stand to hear those
I think
words.
there's a fine line.
Yeah, and
You know, it can be funny, but then
yeah,
it's overdone. So yeah, it
I feel
depends.
like the show that has utilized cuss words the best way, in my opinion, is South Park. They don't use it excessively. They use it when it's
100%.
properly, needed. And there was one episode where South Park says the S word several times. Like it was on purpose that they use it excessively, and it worked because it's just it's just because South Park writers are incredibly talented.
Yeah, they can only do. It's like The Simpsons, right? They can, in terms of like getting
Mhm.
away with certain things. And South Park writers are definitely one of those groups of writers that are categorized like that.
Yeah.
They can do anything and get away with it. It's crazy.
And so High Life it's created by the guy that made, I believe, obviously it's the style inspired by Rick and Morty, and it has that voice
Yes.
actor from Rick and Morty, and it's really fun hearing these voices. It seems like he only knows how to do one voice.
Yeah.
It's like borderline annoying, but
Yes.
I don't mind. I don't mind that he uses the same voice because it's just they're really fun voices, and I don't blame him. But yeah, I've turned down the talking to like bare minimum just so I don't have to hear all the cuss words, and I might have to
Yeah.
get
No,
to
I
the
get it.
point where I had to maybe mute it or something like that. But right now it seems fine. I think reducing the dialogue has worked, but still sometimes you have to talk to an NPC and they're like, "Oh, f this, f that, GD." I'm like, "All right, let's chill, for a little bit."
Yeah, I think like Borderlands did it quite well as well, where they used swearing but did it in a good way.
Okay.
Where it was timed. Like that was kind of the theme was it, there was swearing, but it was the funny kind, where you knew it was a joke. It was done tastefully. That's kind of the way to think about it.
And so yeah, it feels weird putting it in this list, even though I've only played 2 hours. But I already know I'm going to remember this game because it's just it's a first person shooter, but the weapons talk to you, and I think that's really unique. I think the level design is really cool. In terms of shooter, it's I can't really I can't really say too much about it because I've only played 2 hours, but I already know it's going to be one of my favorite games this year just because the beginning was so incredibly engaging. Because I played on PC at first, but my computer needs a new motherboard, so I switched over to Xbox, and actually my save crossed over. I didn't expect that. I guess Game Pass is really accessible when it comes to
Yeah,
transferring data, so that was
because
really
Windows
cool.
10.
And I also love the music in the game. I love the combat music when you're running around and stuff. It's already incredibly memorable, and I cannot, it's got to be my top five this year already, just because of how charming it is in general. Uh, in the platforming, it's guess what? It's platforming with consequences, like with Frogun and Elden Ring. If you fall off, you die. Unlike
Oh, that's
Ragnarok.
good. Okay.
In Ragnarok,
Oh,
you
that's
can't
very
fail
good
in
then.
platforming because there is no platforming.
Yeah, this game actually takes skill. It doesn't just take chuck axe and run.
Yeah. But one issue I am having another issue I'm having other than the excessive cussing is I think the difficulty I have it set on is way too easy. It's on normal mode, and this was just one of those recurring issues I have with difficulty options where I'm probably playing on too easy, but if I bump it up, it might be too repetitive, and so I don't know if I just need to play it safe and just keep it on normal, but I don't like it when I defeat a boss on the first attempt. I hate that.
Yeah.
I want to be on a boss for a long time, but I also don't want it to be tedious, and that's just the problem where difficulty options come in because it's just not going to be designed the way I want it. I kind of have to play it in a very casual way because it's either playing in a casual manner or playing in a very repetitive manner where I'm just going to get bored of it and maybe not even play it again. So it's very conflicting, and unfortunately, a lot of games are just like that. And I guess I just have to accept that. I think it's just one of those things. One of those things in gaming. I just got to accept that not every game is going to be designed like From Software, and I just got to get over it.
Yeah, I think, especially considering how good FromSoft games are, they kind of defined
Hmm.
certain game traits, if you want to call it that. So,
Yeah.
no, I get it. It's a tricky one. I'm a bit like that too. It's finding, the fine line of something that's still fun, but something that's tricky still, that's going to challenge me a little bit.
But yeah.
Um,
Did you have anything? Did you have any
well,
questions about that game?
what I was going to say is because it's the same style as Rick and Morty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you ever try Trover? Did you ever try that out?
Trover?
Yeah, it's the game that came out in 2019.
Is that the VR
From the
game?
same. Yeah, but it's also normal, and you can play it like on a monitor. Um, that was quite good. It's that kind of same idea, though. A little bit overused probably on the curse words,
You said
but it's still a fun game.
I forgot. What's the name? I thought it was called something else.
Trover saves the universe.
Rover saves the universe.
Trover.
Trover.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I thought it was called something. I thought it was something else, but yeah, I know what game you're talking about. Yeah, it's the one where you get to replace your eyes with
Yes.
other beings.
Yeah, and it's a bit wacky. It's like proper out there.
Was it pretty
Um,
good?
It was good, and it gives you, that sense of humor Rick and Morty has. But I wouldn't come back to play it once you've played it once. Once you've done it, finished it, kind of thing.
Okay, so it doesn't have a lot of replay value.
I think it depends on your age, personally. If you're
Okay.
a kid, no, but if you're a kid, you're gonna constantly play because when you get to mid-20s and up, if you're playing something like Elden Ring, then there's a difference in between what you're wanting. Or say if you're playing something like Call of Duty, you're probably not going to come back to this game as much.
Okay.
It just doesn't give you the same excitement, I guess, in a way.
All right.
So,
Yeah.
um,
Oh, sorry.
oh, I didn't say anything.
Okay.
I didn't say anything else.
Sorry. I'm sorry. It feels like I've been cutting you off a couple times. I'm sorry.
No.
Um.
Um,
So yeah, that's on Game Pass also, which is amazing. Game Pass is absolutely incredible.
Fantastic, isn't
High
it?
on
And it
Life.
crosses over to Windows.
Oh yeah, and High on Life is not on PlayStation. And if it does pop up on PlayStation, I'll probably play it again just so I can maybe get the platinum. I'm hoping one day I get back into trophy hunting. It's just trophies have been absolutely disappointing lately. So which is why I haven't been doing it because it's either way too easy or too repetitive. It's just one of those conflicting things. Again, same thing with difficulty options. Um,
100% get you.
so okay, I think we wrapped up on High on Life. Um, yeah, well, yeah. One more thing I want to talk about on High on Life. At the very beginning, there are these really creepy photos in the guy's bedroom, and
Yeah.
I don't remember. I haven't seen anything like that since San Andreas when they had really creepy pictures hanging on the wall. So that was a nice little bit of atmosphere because I'm like we don't see a whole lot of creepy little stuff like that anymore.
No, and I think those small details make a
Mm.
Easter egg hunting, basically. That kind of way.
I
Yeah,
like
that's a lot.
I like looking at something and not being able to comprehend what it is until I blink a few times.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the charm.
It's like the pornographic picture on San Andreas. I believe it's still in the remaster, the current remaster. But it's so simple but hilarious just to see it in a video game. It's like, what is that? Because I remember when I was a kid, I had no idea what I was looking at, and then of course, as I got older, I was like, okay, that's
Yeah,
what's
it all
going
makes
on.
sense.
People that have played San Andreas know what I'm talking about. It's pretty much the only pornographic photo that you see a lot in the game throughout the game, and so anyway, I'll go ahead and say number five. Number five might change between Lego Brick Tales and this one. And so right now, my number five is Terra of the Hemosaurus or Terra of Hemosaurus.
Okay, I haven't heard of this before, so this would be a new one.
This is a really short game. You could finish it in a few hours. Um, but it's like Rampage, but it explores with a lot of gameplay aspects. I feel like Rampage should either adopt or this series become something larger. So I do have a lot of problems with the game, but I thought it was just executed so well. I had to put it on the list. So of course you play as a monster, and you're
Yeah.
destroying buildings, but these buildings actually have physics, and the buildings are made of little squares. And if you damage the building enough, these squares actually loosen up and actually fall, and it's incredibly satisfying. It never got old for me, and and so that's basically it. And they give you other tools like a big steel ball to kick into buildings, and you can kick cars into buildings, and eventually you get to battle helicopters and tanks, and it gets so crazy. And I felt like a little kid playing that game, and that's actually you know a feeling like a kid in a good way, not like Ragnarok where your hand is being. I'm sorry, I'm totally bashing Ragnarok throughout this
No,
entire podcast.
you get more of a nostalgic feel.
But I felt like a kid in Ragnarok because they were holding my hand the entire time, and it was a bad feeling as a kid. Now, this good feeling as a kid is reminding me of games I loved back in the day, like Rampage, and this feels like another version of it that's more modernized, but also looks like a Nintendo game. So
Okay.
it's not in 3D or anything like that. Is sprites is it looks legit like a Nintendo game. Even the cover art looks like something you would see on a Nintendo cartridge, and
Okay, because I was going to ask that. What was it graphically? How
yeah,
how was it done?
it could
Okay.
easily be on a Nintendo game. I don't know how Nintendo could handle physics, though, but um, so though unfortunately, see, it has a lot of flaws. You start out with all the monsters. You don't unlock any monsters, which sucks. You have
Okay.
you have your typical Godzilla monster. You have the Mecha Godzilla monster, and you have this kind of salamander one, which is kind of unique, but it has the fire attack you think Godzilla would have, the Godzilla like creature would have, but the Godzilla creature has more like a roar special attack. The Mecha Godzilla has a rocket special, and so the salamander has this fire like Godzilla, but is super effective. I thought it was super effective. And the other one is a sloth, which has a really bad special attack. I didn't find it very useful, but it was just cool.
Sloth.
Yeah, it was really cool playing it. It was random, I know. I mean, out of all these Godzilla-like creatures, you get a sloth as another selection.
Isn't a sloth like the laziest, most laid back
Yeah.
creature? Oh my god.
But
What a
I
wacky character.
so there's a lot of potential with this game. I thought the dialogue was a little cringy because it's trying to speak politically. Like I mentioned before, I just don't like it when things get political, and it wasn't really a good political parody. It was just more like they're kind of forcing a narrative down your throat, and it's not funny. It's just more like, hey, it's kind of insisting that you believe in these political views, and so it's joking, and it doesn't work well in my opinion. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean?
So the story isn't really matching the gameplay, like fun.
Well, the story's fine by itself. It's just sometimes they just kind of say things it just works off of political points that, if you don't, it doesn't really work if you don't agree with it, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I need to, I'm probably saying too much about it already, um, but yeah,
Sounds like a fun game if
yeah,
it's
as long as you don't,
Nintendo styled.
I mean, maybe the dialogue won't bother anybody else, but I found it really cringy. But I skipped
Hey,
that.
dialogue's just as important
Yeah.
as gameplay, so
Oh yeah. Well, sometimes.
well, yeah, I mean it depends in the context, but if you've got dialogue and it fits the game, then it makes the game even better.
Yeah, especially when it's memorable.
Exactly, yeah, like that's a big thing.
Like, I mean, I can remember maybe a few things from the From Software games, but I can remember a lot more from the God of War games in terms of
Praise the
dialogue.
sun.
I don't know, remember when Kratos said "Praise the sun," especially when he was ripping the sun's head off. Um,
Oh, that was such a cool scene too
I
in the
know.
game. That
Oh,
particular scene,
that
it's
was
fantastic.
like the first thing I saw. It was like I think it was an IGN review, and that's like the first thing they showed in the review was him ripping his Helios. It was a Helios.
Yeah, it was Helios rips his head right off.
That scene
Ah,
is so funny.
it's
God,
fantastic.
just rips his, and you never get a scene like that in Ragnarok. That's like a true M-rated scene. And then like,
Truthfully, would you even get a scene like that nowadays at all in a game? Think ab-
do I know?
Would you even get a scene like that in a modern day game?
I would hope
Like,
so. I'm sure there are really gory games out there. They're just not as popular. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you still get stuff like Doom, but you're killing monsters, not people.
yeah, Doom's on a different level, isn't it, of goriness, I guess.
Now, there are moments in Ragnarok where you can do where there is one scene in particular where you get to cut someone's arm off, like an actual person's, but it's instantly taken away. And if you played it, you'll know what I mean. I won't say it here. And that's just a lot of things Ragnarok gets wrong. They get your heart pumping, and then they just take it away because of something really silly.
And then they crush it. Just step on it.
um,
There's- what else can we say? Like, I don't think there's. Did you have any runner-up games that you were thinking about?
well, I did play Pumpkin Jack, but that was from last year. That game is really fun. It's like an old PS2 game. I definitely recommend that. There are hang-ups though when you interact with items for some reason. I think that's gonna be. I think that was actually in the podcast clips from our previous podcast, I believe.
Yeah, I think something was mentioned.
When the podcast clips, it has gameplay of Pumpkin Jack.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I remember seeing like because you do Frogun a lot, and then this is interesting.
I'm sorry. You,
I noticed when you changed the gameplay, I was this is.
you keep cutting out for some reason.
We've got bad cold weather at the moment, so the internet's been a bit weird.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So at pretty much after your clips, oh yeah, actually that's another topic. You suck at parking, and that's gonna
Oh, that looks so fun.
oh man, it is incredible. It is another game that has amazing level design. They finally released a demo for PlayStation. I'm not going to play it again until it's released for PlayStation. It's on Game Pass, but I don't want to play it until it's released for PlayStation. And the demo I played was definitely, it would be in my top five. It would replace Terra of Hemosaurus. If I got to finish the whole thing. I guess technically I could put it as number five because I did play it technically, but it was just a demo. But yeah, it is a vehicular platforming game. It's nothing I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. And I recorded an hour. I think it took me an hour to get through the entire demo, and then the last level took me another hour because it was crazy. Uh, but yeah, that the Punk Disorder clips are is going to contain footage from my hour playing in the demo. And so the interesting thing about the last level in the demo is in order to access it, because I completed everything else, because in order to perfect a level, you have to get to all the parking spaces without crashing. And so
Okay,
some
talk about
levels have.
challenge.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I'm glad that it's in there. I was so afraid that you would just, oh, all you gotta do is just get to the parking spaces, then you move on. But no, there's a perfection quality. I mean, a perfection requirement for like golden cards. Yeah, I think red cards are for normal. You can crash how many times? Well, actually, no, you get a limit to how many times you can crash, and then you gotta start all over again. So there are limitations, and it creates an incredible challenge, in which I highly respect it for. And so yeah, you do get like a time limit for how long you can crash and park, and then there's perfection mode where you got to park perfectly without crashing, and you get golden cards. And so I thought I had everything, and then I was checking the level list, and it showed that it had like a VIP level, and I was like, okay, well, where's this at? So I'm like searching around for like 30 minutes, and like I cannot find this. And then I noticed that there was like a subscribe to our mailer section. I'm like, well, I don't want to get any spam, so I skipped that. And then I'm like, wait a minute, it's a VIP level. How likely would it be if I give them my email address and I get to play that level? So I put my email in, and what do you know? A portal opens up, and I play the last level.
Oh wow, talk about a good way of getting subscribed.
I
Like
know. I have never
that's a
seen it.
genius idea.
I have never seen anything like that, and I love it. I'm like, yeah, take my email address. And not only was that unique, that level that you get to play is so crazy. Um, it's actually on my YouTube channel as a short. Just fine. I mean, if you need me to, I can send you a link. But it shows me playing the level. But it's cropped out, of course, because you know how the shorts work. Um,
Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it? The
but you
proportion for some things.
but you can still see it just fine. But you got like spirals of fireballs that you have to drift around. I mean, oh man, you have to play it to really understand how tense it is. It took me an hour to finally get it all down. Uh,
Oh wow, so it's actually tricky then.
oh
It takes a bit
yes,
of time.
and I hope there's
Okay.
more levels like that in the main game. I really do. Because you have to park in the middle of that drifting. You got to time it just well where you can park where those fireballs could hit you. You got to do that twice because there's two similar parking spaces like that because you got two spiral fireballs you have to do in a row on. And so the last one, the one that's furthest away, is actually the easy one, and the hardest ones are the ones where you got to park in the middle of all those fireballs. I mean, you have to see the short to understand. I'll send you the link after the
Yeah.
podcast. And one of the most satisfying things I've done this year, even among Elden Ring and all that with Radagon and Godfrey, doing the no damage runs on them. This was really satisfying, even though it only took an hour.
Isn't it funny how sometimes the simplest like style games are the most rewarding?
Mm-hmm. So
That's crazy.
definitely keep an eye out for that. Play the demo. I mean, well, you can access, actually, if you have Game Pass, just play the game. Now if you want to.
Yeah, and give it a go, yeah, and see how
Yes,
it is. Because it did look like one of those games, again, a bit like you can just sit down and have a bit of fun.
but probably the best demo I have ever played. I mean, I've played maybe a handful of demos, but this one's definitely the best demo I've ever experienced, just because of that unique VIP unlock.
Yeah, no, that was pretty cool, That was very well in terms of um strategy. In terms of strategy.
Mm.
For, that was genius idea.
Well, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Was there anything? I feel like I was talking a lot this time, but is there anything else you want to say?
No. Do you know what? There's one demo that I think people should try. I can't remember when it came out. I'm just about to check it, but it was a college product that was done. I can't remember what the college was in America, but it's called Blood Spear, and it's just a cool little game. It's like 25 minutes long. It's a bit like Souls, but smoother.
You
I don't
said
know. It's weird.
you
It's called
said
Blood Spear.
Blood Spear.
Yeah, it's only like 25 minutes long, but it's just such a good little tech demo. Um, I think it came out last year or this year just, but yeah,
Oh,
it's just something to
oh,
try.
okay. Where's that available?
I think it's available on Steam and then it's on Xbox as well. I'll just check.
Oh yeah, that does look interesting. Huh.
But it's just like, it's a 25-minute demo, but it's a 25-minute demo.
Man, I'm
Um,
already thinking about other things to say. Just by looking at that, because there's stuff like the Untitled game that was announced when the PS4 was announced. I can't think of it right now. It's a medieval game, and I think it was canceled. They say they're still working on it, but we haven't seen anything new about it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Vaguely rings a bell. I
Um,
just was checking that this particular demo, unfortunately, is only available on Steam, but it's something that if
oh, okay, yeah, I wouldn't be able to
people
play
want to
that.
check it out, it's cool.
I wouldn't be able to play
It
that
is
until I
worth it.
upgrade my motherboard, unfortunately.
Yeah, because it's got like Bloodborne graphics, but smoother. So,
Okay.
cool game.
Let's see. Dragon game. Dreadwolf. Dang it! How in the world is this not PS4 announced games untitled Dragon game? Ah man, I cannot find it. I I know if I spend a little bit more time, I don't want to spend too much time trying to look for it, but I really hope they release that game soon because that game looked really cool.